Phil is quite the personality, and also a little bit of a, not a little bit, but a real legend in Ann Arbor. He has cemented a spot in University of Michigan football history, but even more than that, he's gone on to lead a pretty tremendous life, overcoming cancer, but along the way being a real entrepreneur, currently working with Torrent, which we'll get to hear a lot more about, a very rapidly growing company that has seen some amazing success. Now, I know some of you have seen this clip before, but some of you have not. And I thought, you know what? It wouldn't be appropriate to introduce Phil Brabbs without showing you that legendary moment from University of Michigan football history. So we'll go ahead and do that now.
Snap it and down it right there. He forgot about they have to walk off 15 now.
Now how long is the field goal?
Well, it's about 44 right now.
27 and 17 would be 44 yards.
It all comes down to guys that haven't played. Isn't that amazing? Philip Brabbs has missed from 36 and 42. And he gets a hug from one of his wide receivers there. Ronald Bellamy just kind of gave him a pat and said, hey, don't worry about the first two. It's the third time that's a charm. 5 seconds left in the football game. If he misses it, 9th-ranked Washington gets out of the big house with a big win. If he hits it, he is a hero in Michigan for years to come. Brabbs from 44.
Phil is about to kick this field goal, and what I failed to tell you is a couple of things. First of all, the season before, the University of Michigan had lost to Washington, and this was kind of considered this redemption game. We were ranked number 9, they were ranked number 10. Phil was a walk-on kicker who had twice missed field goals in this game. In fact, Lloyd Carr, who you saw just a minute ago, had actually at one point sent out someone else to kick a field goal. And they missed the field goal too. And so there was this big question on whether or not the University of Michigan should even in this moment try to kick a field goal. And they send out number 34 to make that field goal attempt.
For the Michigan win. Kick on the way. He might have it. He's got it. Michigan wins.
Unbelievable.
I'm nervous now. And with that, I'd like to welcome Phil Brabbs onto the stage. Let's warmly welcome Phil.
I got more nervous watching that right then and there. Every time I watch that clip, I'm like, please don't miss. Please don't miss. So I'm pleasure to be here, guys. As you can see, I'm a U of M alum. And was anyone actually at that game? Anyone? I can't see out there. Nobody was at that game? Were you guys even born yet? Okay, so who remembers what year that was, though? I have prizes. Just shout it. Oh, wow. So I got shirts to toss out. I heard it way up there. Anyone go to the basketball games at Chrysler? So I go to basketball games with my kids, and I always wanted the cheerleader gets to chuck them up to see if he can get to the very top. We sit in the top nosebleeds, and I never get a t-shirt. So who said 2002? Raise your hand way up there. Oh, yeah, I was a kicker, as you can see. So I'm excited to be here, be on campus. I actually was an IOE major here, so in and out and easy in 5 years. So maybe it wasn't so easy for me, but I was an engineering major. So I get to talk to you a little bit today about what you're doing in entrepreneurship. So you have this try, risk, fail, do theme that's part of CFE. I want to put context around that today and how I've lived out try, risk, fail, do. Let's see if I get this clicker working. Perfect. So I want to start 2 questions to get us started, and I think Lindsay, you're out in their crowd somewhere. I can't really see very well. So who here is hungry and borderline hangry? Raise your hand. Okay, we got some kind bars. We have limited kind bars. She's going to chuck them. She's probably got a better arm than me. So I don't want you guys hangry for this presentation. I want you guys to enjoy it. Liz, you have to get up there and go up there. They want some up high. Sweet. Oh, now she can see. What's that? Oh, so maybe a few would be less hangry. But second question I have is, this is a little deeper question, whether or not you're hungry or not, is what is your life hashtag? Now, I know this is pretty deep, but hopefully over the course of the next 25 minutes, you guys will have it figured out, because we're going to have a little pass and fail test. I was told that I have the authority today to mark you absent or not. So the way you pass this class is I heard you come to class, and I have the ability to say that you weren't here. So this is going to be really simple. What is your hashtag? So you have these cards. You all got these cards? So you don't have to fill it out right now, but you can. And I want you guys to determine what your hashtag is. To me, the hashtag is something that's about you, something you're passionate about, something that if someone saw it, be like, oh yeah, that's Phil Brabbs for sure. So clicker here. Can we get the next slide? There you go. So it's a pass or fail test. Pretty simple. Here's an example of a hashtag, those who stay. Here's an example of a fail. No hashtag written on your card. Can you guys follow this test? It's a pretty tough test. So I'll tell you about my hashtag. Oh, by the way, there's extra credit, even better, so you can skip next class. Now, I wasn't told I had authority to do that, but I'm going to take authority. So extra credit is if you tweet me at Brabbs with your hashtag, with the selfie, though. Selfie is required. So I don't know how you're going to pull that off, but I'm going to get you actually extra credit if you brought a selfie stick. Anyone bring a selfie stick? Okay, I was actually going to take away credit. That was a trick question. Okay, so what's my hashtag? So this is a hashtag that I've had for 8 years. Matt mentioned a little bit about my battle with cancer. So I was diagnosed with cancer when I was 28. It was an incurable cancer. And that was a time where I had to make a decision in my life. I had 2 young kids at home. I got one of my young kids is here. She was 9 months old at the time. She's 9 now. And I was told 1 in 3 people live 5 years with this disease that I was diagnosed with. So I made a decision when I was 28 that I was going to dominate life. Now, I'm not even sure what that hashtag meant at the time, but I knew that I wanted to go after life hard. So that was a cancer diagnosis. I also noticed at age when I was 28 that I graduated from Michigan. I wanted to be a leader in best. I wanted to change the world, and I went into corporate America. I worked at Accenture for 3 years. I loved the people I worked with at Accenture. But within corporate America, I just felt like everyone's soul was dying. People were living in cubes, in their email inbox. And the passion that I saw at University of Michigan on the football field, in the classroom, on the diag, at SAE, was not there in corporate America. And so for me, I wanted to know why wasn't that happening? So back when I was 7, I asked a really important life question, and it's written down in a book that I had, and I found it a few years ago. I asked the question, why do people live? Big, deep question. So why do people live? Anyone have an answer to that? Any brave soul? Okay, one person. You get a t-shirt. You don't even have to tell me that. So raise your hand. Oh man, I'm gonna throw it like a football. Throw back. Oh, I've totally killed somebody. I'm gonna kick the next one, but throw it up to her. Okay, it's a tough question. And I think it's a question we're all gonna be struggling with the rest of our life to figure out. So I wanna know, what's the textbook answer? And then as I was struggling with this, I was like, what do all the religions say? There's a ton of religions out there. They must have this figured out. So I'm going to try to break it down and show you some of the research I did. So I went to a book have you guys heard of this book? Oh, okay. Actually, it's right here. So I went to this book. I actually got a copy from the library. And who actually came into college and picked your degree on whether or not you had to read or write much? Like literally picked. Thank you. Okay, so it wasn't just me back in 1999. So for me, I opened up this book, and I only opened the first page. I'll be honest, I didn't read the book. But I read the first page in the first sentence. Okay, so what did the textbook say? The textbook said, we were born to be an entrepreneur. That was chapter 1, sentence 1. I was like, okay, that's a pretty good answer. And if you actually keep reading, and I'd actually read the whole first page, in sentence 4, it says, all humans are entrepreneurs, not because they should start companies, but because the will to create is encoded in human DNA, and creation is the essence of entrepreneurship. Holy crap. So we got an answer from, I don't know, a LinkedIn guy, pretty smart dude, I assume. Probably had a lot of great experiences. Let's check out a religious answer. So you go to Genesis. Genesis is in the Bible, but it's also part of all the other major religions, Islam, Judaism. It's also in the very, very beginning of the Bible, right? I didn't read the whole thing. So I went into Genesis, and you read, God, who's the creator, created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, the creator, he created them. Male and female, he created them. So simple question, like, if God is the creator, and we are his created, and we are created in his image, what do you think we are created to do? Can anyone shout out an answer? What do you think? One word. Whoa! So you gave the same answer as my 9-year-old. I literally went to my 9-year-old, asked her that question. She said I could use her name. And she said, we are to create things. I honestly think it's that simple. I think it's that simple. I think when we're younger, you know, we all want to be artists and we want to be engineers. Why do we want to be engineers? We want to create things. So, how do we go about creating things? I think this is a great model, and you guys are really fortunate for this class. I didn't have this class. I took ME 250, ME 11, I took all those classes. I didn't have any class on entrepreneurship. And I think this try, risk, fail, do model is amazing. So I want to spend the rest of our time talking about how do you dominate life and entrepreneurship. That work? All good with that? All good with that? Okay. So, I have a company I co-founded called Torrent Consulting. And here's our pen. There's 4 arrows. We call that the customer life cycle. And I like to copycat. I'm not uber creative, but I like to copy things. And so I the customer life cycle. I can just put those 4 words in there, and I'm going to call it the entrepreneurship life cycle. And to try is just to get started. Really simple. Risk is you've got to be willing to give something up, or you're not really risking anything. And if you choose to risk, you might fail. You might make mistakes. And honestly, if you're doing anything amazing in life, you're going to miss a couple field goals. That last kick in the Washington game, so I hadn't kicked a field goal in 4 years since high school. And I literally was told on the Friday before the game up against Washington, Lloyd Carr called me in his office and said, you're my starter. I didn't even have a 24-hour notice. I shanked my first 2 kicks. I'm glad they didn't show the first 2 kicks. ESPN called one of them a wounded duck. For those who don't know anything about football, that is not what you want a nice rotational ball to look like. I think I killed someone in the stands, potentially. So I missed badly, but you know what? Through those misses, that set up the opportunity for me to make that last second kick and do something pretty cool. So I'm going to have 3 examples of how you try, risk, fail, and do, to really kind of get that to sit in. It doesn't have to be entrepreneurship is not starting a business. That's what that book was saying. It's not entrepreneurship. I think people want to make that head in their head. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm starting a business. Now, I have started 2 companies, actually 3 organizations. I also started a nonprofit. So I've started businesses, but that's not Phil as the entrepreneur. So I'm going to start with Michigan football. Where did I try? Well, I walked on. I said, you know what? I want to play. I want to kick. I want to play at Michigan. So I walked on. I gave it a shot. And not only did I tried on the helmet. So who wants to try the helmet on? Someone who's brave. Oh, gosh. Someone. We're not going to throw it up there. This guy's trying the helmet on. So I took out the ear pads. But you have to take off pull the chin strap off. So I came in my freshman year, and my helmet was sitting there. And I was just like, what's your name? What's that? Nitin. And I couldn't get it on there. It's not going to fit. Too smart for it. Kickers are pretty smart. That's good. I like it. So that's exactly what I put this helmet on. I literally was staring in the mirror of the freshman locker room, and I could not. Now he can't get it off. He's got to take it home with him. And I could not imagine playing for Michigan. They had won a national championship 18 months prior. So then I go out to the practice field, and who's next to me? Tom Brady, Anthony Thomas, Steve Hutchinson. We're out for a team run, and these are the guys I'm next to. I'm just the walk-on kicker, right? And lastly, if it wasn't enough to be on the Tom Brady's team as quarterback and play for Lloyd Carr and be for a team that's trying to win a Big Ten title, national championship, I came in front of all you guys, right? And you were like 1/5 of the stands. What that watching kick didn't show you was I was warmed up at halftime, and all my kicks were going wide left into the student section, and they all started booing me. Yes, students, you're booing one of your own. So kicking in front of 110,000 people is kind of risky. So we talk about risk. I passed up scholarship offers. Indiana University wanted me on a full ride. I could have went to Saginaw Valley State University and been a wide receiver, not just a kicker. I passed up all the scholarships to come to Michigan. And there was a chance that I was never going to play. The amount of hours I put into football was probably double what I put in the classroom. And I put a ton of effort into the classroom to get good grades. And there was a risk that I was going to miss that last kick. Like, Phil Brabbs is either going to be a hero or a goat. And, you know how Michigan football fans can be, right? You are them. You're part of them. It can be pretty rough. So, this is where I did fail. I didn't get a scholarship. I did miss important kicks. I missed those 2 kicks prior to making that 1 kick. I missed an extra point against Iowa. And then I ended up having a career-ending injury. After my 4th year, that game you saw, I was hoping to come back for my 5th year, maybe have a shot in the NFL, and I got injured. So, but because I was willing to take the risk and overcome the failure, I made the kick. And it's on YouTube, so it's real, right? So it's on the internet, so it's real. That ended up being ESPN Play of the Week, which is crazy. I watched ESPN growing up as a kid, never dreamed I'd ever be on ESPN, let alone the Play of the Week. I was also Big Ten Player of the Week. I ended up being 2nd-team academic All-American that year. And better yet, we left my 5th year senior year as Big Ten champions. So, go blue. So now let's talk about business. Okay, so I had 2 startups, and you guys, who here wants to maybe start a company one day or be part of a startup one day? Oh my gosh, it's a lot of shirts to throw out, so I'll just go like this. Okay, so that gets me super excited, guys, because I didn't even know about entrepreneurship when I was here sitting in these classrooms in IOE 333 learning about ergonomics, or in calculus number, whatever it was, the 4th one, the 5th one, the 10th calculus class they made me take. So here's my first startup, Scoutforce.com. And Scoutforce was a cloud-based CRM. It was a software as a service. It was a tech startup. Because of my recruiting experience, and my wife's father-in-law was the women's swim coach at Michigan at the time, he's like, you got to build me a CRM to do recruiting. I'm like, I'm gonna build it for you, Jim. I'm gonna build it for everybody. I'm gonna take over recruiting. So that's what I tried to do. That was the vision. So first, you gotta try. So you guys know about customer discovery? You guys know about customer discovery? You gotta go understand who are your customers. So Jim's one customer. I need more customers than Jim. I went to trade shows. My wife and I, my wife's here today. She can wave her hand. She's in the front. She went to the trade show with me. Literally, we had not even built the software yet. We created a video for it, and her and I started selling the software to football coaches. Because football coaches, they'll go for anything, right? So, and at the end of the day, we actually did build the software. I mean, we had some customers. We had to actually build something for them. And we started selling it. I built a sales team. Ton of risk. So back when we started 2008, the economy just was crashing. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself, not bet on corporate America. So I cashed in my retirement savings. I was battling cancer at the time, so I had just got done with 2 bone marrow transplants. I was going through extensive chemotherapy. And I had 3 kids under the age of 4. So not the ideal time to start a company, but if you want to do anything great, you got to risk. And there was a ton of failure, unfortunately. I had a fallout with my co-founders. We weren't seeing eye to eye near the end of it, and it created a lot of tension. And we disbanded. Our technical co-founder left. And beyond that, and some of the pain was coming from investors. So we had chosen to get some investors, get some cash into the business, build a sales team, build a development team. And near the end of it, the investors called their debt, their convertible debt, and took control of our company. So we lost control of our company. And in the end of it, when I left Scoutforce, I lost all but 9% of my equity in the company. So I owned less than 1/10 of the company, although I put all my retirement into it. I put blood, sweat, and tears into it. I was cold calling coaches on my lunch breaks. I was a bootstrapped entrepreneur trying to make something happen. But as I look back at that experience, man, we built a cloud-based CRM back in 2009. Like, people didn't even know what the cloud was back then. And we were in Michigan. We weren't in Silicon Valley. We had acquired 300 customers, including Duke, Northwestern, Michigan. I look back at our 1 year revenue growth because I didn't really know what it meant to be. Like, I didn't know what good revenue growth was. In 1 year after we got that investment, we grew the company 1,000%. And that would have put us on top of the charts of most tech startups. We learned how to build strategic partnerships. We didn't have any money, so we were able to figure out who to partner with to get more customers. And lastly, we built something. I mean, we built something. It worked. We spent, I think, $18,000 of our own money combined, and by that last year, Scoutforce generated $250,000 in revenue, and it was recurring revenue, hitting credit cards, SaaS revenue. Pretty awesome. So it was really tough for me to walk away from Scoutforce when you put so much into that. So I walked away, and I took some time off, and then my best friend, who I met at Accenture down in Charlotte, North Carolina, ended up launching Torrent Consulting. And so I decided I was going to join them. And so this time around, no investors, okay, which is different. It was a service-based business. We're a consulting firm. I mean, you sell people's time. It's not product-based. It's just different. And we're also going to be a social business. I know social entrepreneurship is a big buzzword right now. So back then, my co-founder and I, Daniel, we always talked about what's the point of business. Back in 2004, when I took a job at Accenture, him and I would meet coffee. He's like, "Why? What's the point of business? What's the point of business?" And we started to believe that business could make an impact. And Daniel, full-time, before I joined him, decided that he wanted Torrent Consulting to be a business that made an impact. So that was going to be different. So what we're going to have to risk to make this happen. Okay, this is where it gets really scary for me. So I'd already been through one startup. It didn't end well, and so there was a lot of pain from that experience. And this startup wasn't going to be different in terms of what I had to risk. This time I had to risk leaving the confines of corporate America. I had life insurance, I had health insurance, I had stable income for my family. I had to give all those things up. And I had 3 kids under the age of 7. So they had grown a little bit, but still, I had a young family. I was still actually at the time battling cancer. So the idea of not having health insurance scared the bejeebies out of me. So in the model, we'll go back to where did things go wrong? We underestimated how much it took to do projects. So now we're implementing Salesforce.com for businesses. Salesforce.com. Anyone familiar with Salesforce.com? Yeah, it's one of the most popular cloud platforms out there right now. They're a $10 billion company. They sell the software. We sell the services to implement that software. So we didn't know Salesforce that well, but we needed to generate revenue, and so we just started selling our services, not knowing actually what it would take to implement Salesforce.com. So we definitely got burnt by underestimating projects. If I can say anything about starting a company, and a lot of these guys out here said you want to start a company one day, there is nothing more important than the people that you have in your organization. I think Michigan football, they preach this to us, right? It's all about the team, the team, the team. It is no different in business. It's all about the team, the team, the team. And we hired some players that weren't a good fit for our culture. And that cost us, and that was really painful. We also had some really bad customers. I mean, if I could show you some of these emails I got from the customers, you would not show them to your mom, but we had some customers that we had to actually fire because of the way they were treating our employees, and it was painful. But what did we accomplish? What did we do? Torrent Consulting in the last 3 years has gone from 2 to 60 people. We have acquired 300 customers over the last 3 years and grown at 2,200%. What's crazy about that is I don't even know you guys know what Inc. magazine is? You guys all know what Inc. magazine is, right? Yeah, of course you do. I didn't know what Inc. magazine was 2 years ago, which is it seems ridiculous, right, as an entrepreneur that you want to know what Inc. magazine is. We found a copy of Inc. magazine, it was Inc. 5000, the Inc. 500 copy, and we're like, oh, maybe we should apply to Inc. 5000, like maybe we would get in. So we applied last year, and we got a notice back to them that we were the 164th fastest growing company in the country, which is crazy. Fastest growing company here in Ann Arbor, number 4 in the state, all without any investment. So we are co-founded in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Charlotte, North Carolina. So we applied for some awards in Charlotte, North Carolina that we just received. We're the number 3 fastest growing company in Charlotte. Charlotte's a pretty big city. And we just got named the number 4 best places to work in Charlotte, North Carolina. So end of the day, Torrent Consulting, oh yeah, big piece here. So we said we want to be a social business. And so how do you become a social business when you're a startup, you're just trying to make money, you're just trying to keep your employees satisfied? You know, in that time, we have launched 2 social entrepreneurs. A guy that's in the inner city Charlotte, employing at-risk youth, his neighbors to work for him and help roast coffee. He's redirecting their lives towards education. And then we sent one of our employees down to Antigua, Guatemala. He's opening up a Guatemala office for us. And we, at the end of the month, are going to hire 2 orphans in Guatemala to work for Torrent Consulting. We're going to teach them Salesforce.com, and we're going to give them a chance. So with that growth, we've also been able to stay true to our desire to make an impact. At the end of the day, at Torrent Consulting, we are building something greater, and it's been a heck of a ride. Okay, so time for the test. You guys ready for the test? What is your hashtag? It's pass or fail. Pass or fail. Again, to the left is like a pass, and to the right is a fail. And then extra credit if you tweeted it. And we're gonna check to see if anyone actually tweeted it, and you guys are gonna get a prize here. So let's pull up Twitter real quick. I know we gotta refresh it. Let's see, guys. You guys probably aren't on Twitter. I should have said Snapchat. That's probably what I should have said, right? Did anyone Snapchat it? It'd be amazing. Is it just Eric's getting credit? Eric and Matt? That's not even. Did anyone tweet it? Does anyone have Twitter here? Hardly. Okay, did anyone Snapchat it? I'm just kidding. Anyone Snapchat it? Okay, well, awesome. Well, we're back to the slide, and I'm just going to close real quick, and then we'll get some Q&A. Perfect. So I actually live here in Ann Arbor. After I graduated, went down to Charlotte, North Carolina to work at Accenture. I moved back in 2007. So Torrent Consulting is located here downtown Ann Arbor. We'd love to connect with you guys. We love having people come into our space. It's a very open, warm environment. And then if you're on Twitter, connect with me. I'd love to connect with you via Twitter. I'm sure you're all on LinkedIn by now. LinkedIn's the place to be. It's like Snapchat, but for professionals. Just kidding. It's nothing like that at all, as you guys know. Us older people like to think that. You know, it's like, I'm on LinkedIn. It's pretty awesome. But definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. You know, on LinkedIn, I was like, oh, I want to connect with that person, but I actually can't. Well, I learned a trick. Like, just say you went to college with me. I mean, we're kind of at college together right now, and then you can send me the request. You don't have to have my email address. Just say we went to University of Michigan together, because we kind of did-ish. And then we can connect in that way. Because I'm gonna be in Ann Arbor for a long, long, long time. I really like to help those who are interested in entrepreneurship, those who are interested in figuring out what their hashtag is. So please, thanks for coming to class. You all passed today, I think. I'm gonna trust. And last but not least, go blue.
Great. That's great. So we'll give everyone an opportunity to ask some questions here in just a second. But I thought, you kind of glossed over just a little bit that first launch you had with the company. And you kind of said, hey, I decided to take things into my own hands. But what was really, that was seems like a big moment. What was really kind of going on in your head? Like, what made you convinced that you could actually be better off taking things into your own hands? Because I've known a lot of people who in those rough situations actually will say things to me like, well, I probably should just go get a job, right? But you took a distinctly different path.
Well, I think the whole cancer diagnosis was, one of the most challenging things in my life. When you're confronted with death, you probably act a little irrational. So I think, but when you're confronted with death, you have a couple options. You can curl up in a ball and go die, or we can choose to go live a passionate life. And a lot of ways, cancer has afforded me the excuse to be a little bit crazy and make crazy decisions. And I think most people might go the conservative route. I have a supportive wife, I have a supportive community, and so I knew that corporate America wasn't for me. It wasn't the pace that I go at in life. And not knowing if I had 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years, I was not gonna be satisfied. And I didn't feel like I could look at my kids and say that Dad did what he wanted to do. Dad lived and dominated life. So I really looked at my kids. I feel like if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out guns a-blazing. I'm gonna try to start a company, and I'm not gonna give up.
That's great. Now, another thing that you kind of touched on is the famous Bo Schembechler quote, the team, the team, the team. And Torrent does take a unique approach to building their team. Would you be able to share a little bit more about what that entails and how you decide whether or not someone is, in fact, a fit for your team?
Yeah, so cultural fit is huge at Torrent Consulting. I'm actually not a fan of resumes at all. So if you ever get an interview with Torrent Consulting, you'll bring me your resume, I will just turn it over. I really feel like there are certain values that organizations have, and people need to have those values. And if you could hire people that have those values, so Torrent has 6 core values. One of them is connect the team player, kind of built off the team, the team, the team. And if you hire people that share those values, that want to be there, great things happen. And I saw it at, I think Lloyd Carr did an amazing job when I was at Michigan. You'd have these kids that came all across the country. Yeah, some of them were 2 stars, 3 stars, there were some 5 stars, but he looked for a certain personality, some character traits, some qualities, some values. He brought in people with the same values, and we all got along. We came from low income to upper middle class, from Louisiana to California to Midland, Michigan, and we loved one another, and we were able to compete with one another and still achieve a lot together.
That's amazing. Why don't we see if other people from the audience have questions?
Do they have to wear the helmet when they ask a question?
Nice.
Yeah, Christine, there's questions right there.
Nice.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Alexander. I'm from Tel Aviv University. I'm in the exchange program in Ross for the MBA. You mentioned that in your first startup, the investors took over your company. So I heard this a lot that happens, and can you explain how did it happen, and what were the steps that they did, and how to prevent this? How can you prevent this?
Oh, prevention's easy. Just don't ever take money from investors. I would suggest that too. I mean, the thing about being an entrepreneur, you're a creator, right? Like we learned, you're a creator. And no investor, they want to create dollars, just straight cash for themselves. And so they're operating from a place of sheer desire to acquire more money. These people have a ton of money. So for them, it's a game. But for you, it's personal. And I had one of the investors told me when things started to get a little dicey, I wanted to meet with him because I thought he was a mentor of mine. He said, I can't meet with you because I have a fiduciary responsibility to the investors. I was like, what the crap does that mean? I just want to talk. And so, I think most startups get funding. It's proven. That's what they do. That's the current model. I am hopeful that Torrent Consulting can encourage people to take a different model. Go get customers, find money from sources that don't want ownership in your company, that want ownership in your future, in your success. And so I think my recommendation would be find a way without investors. It's probably counterculture to probably anything you learn in an MBA school or business school. I went to engineering school though, so I don't have to play by those games and those rules, right? But I would say, looking back, if I were gonna bring on investors, I would have invested a lot more time understanding how investors think, what they want. I would actually probably make sure I get the right investors. We had 2 different investors we were looking at. We ended up taking on a group of investors that right before we accepted their money, I wanted to actually turn away and not take their money. And my co-founders didn't like that, and so they talked me into taking the money. I was the CEO, president, so that decision fell on me, and I'll take full responsibility for that. And I think having investors, especially early on, that are betting on you. And these investors weren't betting on me. They were trying to hit a big win here with a local startup. And so, it was a painful ending. But again, I failed a ton, learned a ton, and because of those learnings, we took a different approach to Torrent Consulting.
That's great. Thank you. I have a couple more.
All right, so in an article from the Charlotte Business Journal, you mentioned how you want to build a great company, not a huge company. And I was wondering, does that mean you would try to sort of limit your growth if you got too big, or what do you mean by that exactly?
It's a great question. And our employees, I'm developing this 3-year vision document for 2020. And in there we say that we want to be great, not big. And they're like, but it doesn't make sense because we're growing really fast. We're growing really big. And I said, well, good point. And I can tell you, we want to be greater growth, greater impact. So actually, we want to continue to grow. I think how we grow in the future, in terms of not becoming big, we value community at Torrent Consulting. And there's some statistics out there that say after an organization gets beyond 120, 150 people, you start losing connection. You go from knowing everyone to knowing nobody. And so I think the goal is to keep that community feel at Torrent Consulting. So our strategy to this point is, as we develop our 10-year vision, is as we grow, we want to take that we call it the friendship bread, the 160 employees, and we want to launch new businesses from that 160. So we will keep the growth going, and it'll turn out into more businesses. So that's the 10-year vision that we're developing. Similar to what I think Zingerman's has done here in town. I know you guys are probably familiar with the Zingerman's from the sandwich shop. They have 12 businesses right now, and it's called the Zingerman Community of Businesses. They're all separate LLCs. And they've become big, but they've become great, but not big. So when you experience Zingerman's, they're a great company, but they're not much outside of Ann Arbor. So there's 700 employees total in that family of business. And so I think that's how we're gonna approach it. I mean, we're gonna set up a vision for the next 10 years, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's 10 businesses that are part of Torrent Consulting, all of which could have 100 and 150 employees. Ton of job opportunities, ton. And we were at the Startup Career Fair yesterday. We're looking for juniors for internships this summer. And then we want to stay connected to freshmen, sophomores. For those who have passion for entrepreneurship, Torrent Consulting is definitely a good place to check out.
Oh, that's great. You mentioned how when you were in school, the resources, there was no Center for Entrepreneurship, there was no Startup Career Fair, none of these things that are here now. So if you were in school now, what do you think you would do kind of differently, given those resources?
Gosh, someone asked me that yesterday. This building didn't exist, this pretty building and this pretty stage. And so if I were to do it again, man, football took all my time. But if I didn't have football, I think for me, looking back at what the University of Michigan did for me, there's two things the University of Michigan did for me. One, there's such an ethos of leaders invest here, and it's hard not to want to do great things. And what's amazing is you're surrounded by individuals and peers that all want that too. And so it really gets you in this mindset that you can do anything. And that's great for entrepreneurship. But looking back at my experience, all my closest friends, they're not the people I went to high school with, they're the people I met at Michigan. And those people are highly connected to what we're doing. We've hired some of those people into Torrent Consulting. So I think I would have expanded my relationships more. I lived in the South Campus all 5 years. I would come to North Campus. I wouldn't really talk to many people. I wasn't very connected up here. I would get connected. And I would build my LinkedIn, we didn't have LinkedIn back then. I would build my LinkedIn connections because I would want to take every relationship I could. I'd meet with professors. I would try to meet with those people, alums, those people who can help me in the future. And it's not going to be right away. It's going to be 5 years, 10 years down the road. But it's so hard to see that. So I would gobble up every relationship I could if I was on campus today. I would try to meet with everybody.
Oh, that's great. Why don't we, Paul, are you able to pull up the tweets here for us real quick?
Oh, what we got on Twitter now? So some people actually have Twitter. My mom's even on Twitter, and she's 68. Maybe that's why you guys aren't on Twitter.
Hey Matt, what is the extra credit? What are these tweets about? What's the extra credit?
Oh, those guys are getting Dominate shirts. Oh,
You gotta.
oh, where is that person?
Where is she?
Where's
Where is
mine?
she? Oh, she's in the front. I can actually, it's a good throw. Who else? Where's Ian?
Oh, there we have
Nico.
right up there.
That's Ian? All three. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay, I see you. How many other people?
How many others do we have? Let's see. I think you should throw one of them and have them duke it out. They're
We'll
big
do-
guys.
Oh, nice grab. I think, oh, whoa, you're getting two. That was such a nice grab. Oh my gosh, you one-handed. That was like Jordan
Oh,
Lewis.
wait, where do we have? Let's see.
Nate, where you at? Where's Nathan?
Oh, wow.
Last name.
Real test of the arm. Yeah.
I didn't rip my coat.
We
I
don't want
want
to
to
tear,
get one
tear
higher.
up the jacket now.
Look at that. Be incredible.
I gotta get rid of this kicker like image. Where are you at again? Can you Jordan Lewis this? It might go over your head. I'm gonna put so much into this. Okay, let's see if I get. Watch out in front.
Wow.
Yeah, we got to him though. Oh, we got a couple more. We got.
Be incredible. Kenzie. I
Kenzie.
saw Kenzie. There
Oh
she
my
is.
gosh, she's
Yes.
the same row. You ready, Kenzie? Everyone around her ready? Yeah!
Wow.
Even further. Woo! Anybody else? Is that it? That's all we got. That's perfect, because they actually get all three then. That makes me happy. Awesome. Oh, nice.
Wow.
Gosh, they got good hands over there. Awesome.
Any other questions for Phil?
Yeah, what?
There we have one.
Hi, Phil. Sorry, I'll make this real quick. But I had to write it on my hand to remember this. You talked about the team, but it seems like you have multiple teams you're on, your family, your work. Do those ever conflict? How do you manage being, doing all of that together?
Let's
Are there
not let my
other
wife
teams?
answer that question. She might answer it differently. So when I was at Accenture, they loved to talk about work-life balance. And that never sat well with me. Like, why would I want to try to balance my work and life? Isn't my work life? And so back then I was talking about work-life integration. Like, those two things actually should not be in conflict, but I think there is a tension because when you love what you do, yeah, it's not called work, but it can take up a lot of time and actually be in imbalance to the priorities at home and spending time with your family. So honestly, it's a struggle for my type of personality because I do love what I do so much. And the 60 people at Torrent are family, so it's fun to be there. So I think what I've done is I've tried to integrate the two or like get them aligned. So I live a mile from the Torrent office, and my kid's school is right in between. And on Fridays, although it wasn't today because of the speaking opportunity, I go to lunch with them on Fridays in their elementary school. So every Friday I go to lunch with all three of my kids. So that gives me touch points there. I usually in the mornings, although I haven't been recently, my 6-year-old loves to play games with me. She loves strategy games. She gets up really early. I get up really early. I also coach almost all my kids' sports teams, although Iris, I haven't coached. She's giving me a nasty look. My 9-year-old, I've not coached any of her teams yet, but I'm gonna change that. But I coached junior league football for my son this year. I've coached my other daughter, I coach her soccer team. I'll be coaching Iris's gymnastics team. She's doing gymnastics now, not quite my forte, but I'll do what I need to do. But it is hard. You need a supportive partner. So Cassie, I was like texting her yesterday. I'm like, they want me to go to Guatemala. It's for 5 days. So I think it's a balance. I think you got to figure out, like, if you're going to pull a lot into work, you got to figure out how you're going to put a lot into family. And I think I had really good parents. My dad was always around. My mom was extremely generous and caring. So I came from a really good family. My wife came from a really good family. Family's a huge priority for us. And another thing that we've done at Torrent Consulting, once you guys come into our office to do a tour, we have Torrent Kids. We actually have a kids corner where we have Legos. Iris was there earlier playing Legos. So I'm trying to create an office environment that is integrated so that kids can come. We have babies in our office. New moms will bring their baby and carry their baby and work at Torrent Consulting. So really trying to bring those two worlds together so they don't have to be so much in tension, so much imbalance. But great question.
All right, well, Phil, thanks for your time, your experience, your energy. We really, really appreciate you being here today.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Awesome.
And when you line that up against what's traditionally been done when analog turns into digital in the form of audio, we believe that we've got a different approach that's based more in the fundamental natural way that humans hear. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more, but the technology really addresses all of that.
Perfect.